And welcome back to the readings for the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time for July 23rd, 2017. First reading is from the Book of Wisdom, chapter 12, verse 13, as well as 16 through 19. There is no God besides you who have the care of all, that you need show you have not unjustly condemned, for your might is the source of justice. Your mastery over all things makes you lenient to all. For you show your might when the perfection of your power is disbelieved, and in those who know you, you rebuke temerity. But though you are master of might, you judge with clemency, and with much lenience you govern us. For power, whenever you will, attends you, and you taught your people by these deeds that you who are just must be kind. And those who are just must be kind, and you gave your children good ground for hope, that you would permit repentance for their sins. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The psalm for today was Psalm 86, verse 5 through 6, 9 through 10, and 15 through 16. Lord, you are good and forgiving. You, O Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in kindness to all who call upon you. Hearken, O Lord, to my power, and attend to the sound of my pleading. Lord, you are good and forgiving. All the nations you have made shall come and worship you, O Lord, and glorify your name. For you are great, and you do wondrous deeds. You alone are God. Lord, you are good and forgiving. You, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and fidelity. Turn toward me and have pity on me. Give your strength to your servant. Lord, you are good and forgiving. The second reading was from Romans chapter 8, verse 26 through 27. Brothers and sisters, the Spirit came to the aid of our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit himself intercedes with inexpressible groanings. And the one who searches hearts knows what is the intention of the Spirit, because he intercedes for the holy ones according to God's will. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Alleluia, alleluia. Blessed are you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. You have revealed to little ones the mysteries of the kingdom. Alleluia, alleluia. The gospel today was from Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 through 43. Jesus proposed another parable to the crowd, saying, The kingdom of heaven may be likened to a man who sowed good seed in his field. While everyone was asleep, his enemy came and sowed weeds all through the wheat, and then went off. When the crop grew and bore fruit, the weeds appeared as well. The slaves of the householder came to him and said, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where have the seeds come from? He answered, An enemy has done this. His slave said to him, Do you want us to go and pull them up? He replied, No. If you pull up the weeds, you might uproot the wheat along with them. Let them grow together until harvest. Then at harvest time I will say to the harvesters, First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles for burning, but gather the wheat into my barn. He proposed another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed in a field. It is the smallest of all the seeds. Yet when full grown, it is the largest of plants. It becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches. He spoke to them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed with the 3 measures of wheat flour till the whole batch was leavened. All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He spoke to them only in parables to fulfill what had been said through the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will announce what has lain hidden from the foundation of the world. Then, diminishing the crowds, he went into the house. His disciples approached him and said, Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field. He said in reply, He who sows good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. Just as weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all who cause others to sin and all evildoers. They will throw them into the fiery furnace, where they will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So, for my priest homily today, I actually didn't realize this because I'm not a farmer, But back for that time, they would have understood that even better because I actually got that even some more clarity later on because I was listening to EWTN as well, and they were talking about the gospel for today as well. Basically, there was a weed that looked almost exactly like wheat, and you really couldn't tell until it had grown. And basically, the other part for it is that it could be deathly sick. So it's like, obviously, you wouldn't happen to want to eat that. So to let it grow among you could be dangerous, but at the same time, it's best to let it grow and then you take it and throw it away and burn it, just like was said in the parable today. Even though there is this one bad thing that's growing, there can still be good that comes from it, and we should let the good come from it and then dispose of the bad, because obviously we wouldn't happen to want anything to happen to anybody there. And the other main part that I remember from the homily, and it was a good homily, it's just unfortunate I happened to have trouble remembering, was that, and I can't quite remember how we got there, but that you shouldn't judge others for how they are, because my priest was also talking about how he went to a priest's conference and he decided to go get coffee in downtown where I live, and basically it's just he told a story of how he went in and the barista basically had a bunch, how people are typically predicted, lots of tattoos, beard, lots of piercings, and then you don't obviously expect to see a priest most likely in a place like that, but it they both took a moment and they laughed at each other, not like at each other, just kind of like at the situation, because it was kind of more so amusing to both of them, because it's like they weren't trying to be offensive to each other. It's just they could kind of tell that it was a funny meeting. It was more so the thing, not like to be mean. And then they got, obviously, the fact that they weren't laughing at each other and weren't being mean. Obviously, the priest was able to. I don't know if anything actually came out of it. He didn't say that part, but he was at least able to talk with him. The gentleman had gone to Catholic school, and the priest talked about how he used to listen to Led Zeppelin himself when he was a kid. I did forget to mention the part where he was wearing a Led Zeppelin T-shirt, but it's like, the fact of the matter is we shouldn't judge, and we should be open to conversations like that. That way we can help people come back to God. Because if we don't happen to be open to that, we push them away as opposed to pulling them closer towards us. And that's not what we want, or not towards us, towards God. We can be a conduit of leading people towards God, but at the end of the day, it's obviously all about God. So that's what we want to focus on. And that I did misspeak for that, and I do apologize, but we want to bring people back towards God. And if we judge people, that can honestly be a really hard thing to do, because people that are judged typically don't want to listen. And it's like, not only do we want to pull in atheists or agnostics or, obviously Muslims or anybody else to come to Christ, we want to get other Protestants as well. And there was somebody that was talking recently about how, a lot of the time a Protestant will tell a Catholic they're going to hell, but it's like, what you want to do is just have a nice, meaningful conversation with them. And it can be really hard when they're telling you things like that. But if we start getting back to them in the exact same way, that's not going to help. We need to be loving and caring and explain to them where, the basis of the church came from, and how for 2,000 years, 1,500 years, the Catholic Church was, the church that was set by God. It still is the church that was set by God. It's just there was a couple other sprouts during then that was outright heresies, and then the Protestant Reformation came along, and now there's minor heresies here and there that are taught. Sometimes there is minor heresies, kind of like how with Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons, but for the most part, what I'm trying to say here is we obviously don't want to be mean to the Protestants either. It's like we want to be inviting and loving to all, and that can be really hard, especially the militant atheists. They're going to want to attack people just because there can be a couple different reasons. It can be because of the priest scandal, which typically when they bring that up, it's because they don't understand a lot of the factors to that. It's not a good thing that it happened, of course. Anything that happens to any child, especially like that, is not a good thing, but there's a lot more that happened to that, and it unfortunately obviously does still happen today in priests, but it also happens in teachers, and that's something that a lot of people don't bring up or realize, I guess. And not obviously trying to judge teachers either. It's just without knowing the full story, a lot of the time, people typically tend to judge, unfortunately, and not really think about the full part of it. And I'll admit that I do that too. I'm trying to not be as biased, but it can be hard to not be biased. But I suppose that'll do it for this time, though. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you all have a wonderful day. Wonderful week, actually. And God bless.